Joining us now is Edisonalpha founder and CEO and Israeli-Iranian alliance co-founder, Shervin Pishevar. Shervin, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Maria.
Look, we're supposed to see phase 2 of the talks between Israel and Hamas happening this week. I just spoke with the president of Israel yesterday. And, of course, 3 more hostages were released over the weekend. President Trump returning the maximum pressure on Iran. What are you expecting in terms of how this is playing out?
Well, it's a new dawn in the Middle East. With the leadership of President Trump, everything has changed in just 20 days. So we're all praying. We're living in really biblical times where decades of evil and sponsorship of terrorism by the Islamic regime is going to have to come to an end. We cannot live in this reality that they've created for the Middle East and the world. And President Trump's vision and leadership is a game changer. If you look at what happened under Biden, there wasn't maximum pressure, there was minimum pressure. They allowed them to gain $200 billion of oil, gas sales. They lifted all of the sanctions, and all of this maximum pressure is the beginning of what I believe President Trump is going to do to fundamentally change Iran and really ultimately free the 88 million Iranians who have been hostages of this evil regime for the last 45 years.
Well, I mean, look, phase 2 is expected, the phase 2 of the ceasefire is expected to result in all of the hostages being released. So do you think these hostages are going to be released? And do you think that Iran understands what President Trump is talking about? He's got maximum pressure on them so that they stop the directive to Hamas and Hezbollah to attack Israel.
Absolutely. First of all, Edon Alexander, a young kid from Tenafly, New Jersey, needs to be released. All of the hostages need to be released. Omer Nutra from Long Island. We forget many times these are also Americans. They're our fellow citizens who have been tortured and killed. His body needs to be released and returned to his family in America. They have no choice but to release them. So that must happen. And the funding of Hezbollah and Hamas must end. The one thing I'll say is I do not think the Islamic regime is going to give up the nuclear bomb effort that they've made for so long. And so that really is a brilliant strategy by President Trump, because he knows that they're not going to stop. And so that there's only going to be one result, and that's really the beginning of a freedom movement in Iran. That must happen.
Shervin, last week, President Trump had an idea, and it was a bold idea, that the U.S. would own Gaza. That, right now, Gaza is uninhabitable, and that eventually the U.S. will come and do a clean sweep and build it up. Do you think that's realistic?
Well, I came on your show a month after 10/7 in 2023 and proposed a 6-step plan, and that plan was to eliminate Hamas and Hezbollah, free the Palestinians and the Gazans from being held hostage by this evil organization, terrorist organization, protect Jews around the world and protect Israelis. And then ultimately after that, after the hostages are released, after Hamas is eliminated and Hezbollah is eliminated, then we can talk peace. Then we can talk a Marshall Plan for reconstructing Gaza. And we've called for a $100 billion fund. I think President Trump's vision is very aligned with this. I think ultimately rebuilding and returning people who are peaceful and are not terrorists to be able to rebuild their lives and not be held hostage by these terrorist organizations, and let them resettle back into Gaza and have a peaceful coexistence is the ultimate vision that should happen.
Shervin, we got to run, but I know that you were very happy to see President Trump announce that the U.S. is going to have a sovereign wealth fund. I mean, you're an investor. We've talked a lot about investing. You think this is a good idea? There were some questions about how it would be funded, though, real quick.
Absolutely. I've been pushing for an American sovereign fund for years. Howard Lutnick is an absolute visionary, and Scott Bessent is a visionary, and President Trump. This is going to be the beginning of an amazing era for Americans, because I've been pushing, and this is supported of the idea of Americans should have ownership in the American Sovereign Fund. We should be funding these great companies, and everyone should get ownership. And Howard's great idea of connecting it to Social Security is brilliant, and so that'll fund it. The tariffs will also fund the American Sovereign Fund.
Well, we'll see about that. They could also sell Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. I mean, there's oil leases. There are a couple of ways. But, Shervin, we're going to be keeping a watch on that. Great to catch up. Thank you so much. Shervin Pishevar joining us.
Thank
we'll
you.
be right back.